Welcome back. We have breaking news this morning. This is a third migrant bus arriving in New York City this morning. This bus coming from Texas. It is the third bus of the morning where we are watching illegal migrants get off of the bus and go into New York. We are expecting more buses to continue. As you know, Texas Governor Greg Abbott continues to send buses to New York and other big cities. This is the ninth bus this week. Ninth bus this week. It's Tuesday. This, as Customs and Border Protection data shows, officials have encountered nearly 267,000 migrant children since President Biden took office. Joining me right now is Texas Congressman and member of the House Appropriations Committee, Tony Gonzales. Congressman, it's good to see you. Thanks very much for being here. Maria. You are right there on the border, and you see things firsthand. Assess the situation for us right now in Texas.
Yeah, it's horrific. You know, just when you think it can't get any worse, it does. You know, we recently had a high-speed chase go through a small town of Hondo where that ended up in a fatality. One migrant was killed. Another migrant had to be flown to San Antonio for immediate health care. And so, you know, the same thing in Uvalde. You know, Uvalde had one of the worst school shooting in Texas history. Well, guess what? Our schools are going into lockdown because these high-speed chases continue to come through our towns. There's just no end in sight. Kamala Harris, thankfully, is coming to Texas next month. But guess what? She's coming here to do a fundraiser. So they're not even serious about helping anyone along the border. Meanwhile, people are dying. Things are getting worse. Migrants are sleeping on the streets, and now they're getting bused everywhere. In El Paso, they're sending 3 to 6 buses every week all over the country.
Unbelievable. I mean, what we're seeing take place is just remarkable, and this White House is not acknowledging it at all. Let me ask you, Congressman, one of my sources at the border told me that they understand that Venezuela and some other countries are emptying out prisons, and the prisoners are headed directly to the border. Can you confirm that?
You know, Maria, I've heard the same thing. I've actually heard it for months, and it started in other countries as well. You know, there is a major crackdown in Central America, not Nicaragua, El Salvador in particular, and a lot of gang members are fleeing there, and they're coming to the United States. We've seen that for months. I've heard the exact same thing about Venezuela and other places. So some of these actors that are coming over, no one wants them in their backyards. You know, people always ask, hey, why are Democrats failing with the Hispanic population? I represent a district that is over 70% Hispanic. And the administration has completely abandoned us. House Democrats in particular have abandoned everyone along the border. It's why Republicans are going to win back the majority in the House.
Unbelievable. El Paso is a city under Democrat leadership, and they'll vote today on whether or not to spend an additional $4 million on busing those migrants to blue cities. It's already spending $250,000 a day on migrants, Congressman. So will the leadership, which is Democrat, agree to spending the money to send the buses?
Oh, yeah, I think 100% the Democrat leadership will, because if you're a mayor of a town, doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, you're trying to keep law and order. You're trying to keep people off the streets. And what you're seeing is these migrants overwhelm cities. First, it started with small cities like Del Rio and Eagle Pass, but now it's large cities. El Paso is a large city. And there's no end in sight. It's not going to end there. It's your city next. We're talking about Texas today, but if we continue along this path, it's just going to continue to spread. I will say House Republicans have a plan. We have this commitment to America that we have rolled out. The conference is united behind it, where we're going to focus on ending catch and release, where we're going to focus on technology on the border. If you will remember, Maria, a few months ago, there were 53 migrants that were found cooked to death in the back of a trailer. That was in my district. Well, that could have been prevented if there was technology at the border. And then ultimately, we have to enforce the laws that are on the books. All this goes away if there's repatriation flights. People that do not qualify for asylum get sent back.
It's amazing because Democrats did not say a word when all those people cooked to death in that car that you're referring to, in that truck. You had dead people right there in plain sight. You're looking at people drowning in the River Grande every single day. Democrats don't say a peep about it. And yet, as soon as 50 migrants show up in Martha's Vineyard, then it's a crisis. Then, they're upset. Meanwhile, you're facing, 7,000 people a day throughout Texas? Yeah, go ahead.
No, every day. You're absolutely right. And the first responders, imagine if you're a firefighter and you come on a scene where there's 53 people, 53 fatalities. The mental health of our first responders is at an all-time crisis.
That's a great point. And meanwhile, we're looking at a live picture of Port Authority right now, where about 50 migrants have come off of this bus. This is the third bus of the morning and the ninth this week. In New York, the mayor is building the first of 2 tent camps for illegal migrants on top of the 6,000 hotel rooms already provided. Compare that to El Paso, whose city's welcome center is taking 90 minutes to process each migrant bus, essentially working overtime to keep these crossers off the streets. Congressman, how much do you tie this to the crime spikes in our country? You know, I mean, I know that we don't know who it is and we don't know their backgrounds, but I think it's been up to 60. Well, it's definitely 61 apprehended, but I think it's up to 80 people that have been identified as having crossed onto the border into Texas that are actually on the terrorist watch list.
That's exactly right. That's the most dangerous part of this all. You know, many folks are coming over for a better life. They don't qualify for asylum. They don't meet our asylum laws, but they're coming over for a better life. But embedded in there are bad actors, people nobody wants in our country. Nobody wants, certainly in their neighborhoods, whether they're gang members, whether they're terrorists. 78 people on the terrorist watch list. You know, I'll remind people that it only took 19 terrorists to kill about 3,000 Americans, you know, a couple decades ago. This is a real and serious threat. Oftentimes, too, these bad actors, they come here with a organized criminal organization. So essentially, the cartel is growing. The cartel is expanding. You know, they're in an opportunity to pick up more and more territory. These are people nobody wants in our backyard. It's why this administration, you know, they've turned a complete blind eye. House Democrats, you'll never see them at the border. You'll never see them understanding this. That's why it's important. House Republicans, on day one, we roll out this commitment to America, and then we fulfill our promise to America.
I mean, it's unbelievable to me that the people who are deciding who comes into America are dangerous drug criminal cartels, who, by the way, are taking home $200 to $300 million a week. And they are charging whoever they want to come into America. They're the police guards of this great country. And no comment. And Tiana Lowe, jump in here, because we haven't even started on the drugs. And I don't call 100,000 people dying in America a fentanyl an overdose. No. That's a poisoning. This is poison that's coming into our country, and it's coming through this wide open border, killing young people.
Yeah, so
that's
we
exactly
know that
right. They're poisoning.
Yeah.
So
they're poisoning our children.
Yes.
Go ahead,
Tiana Lowe.
Congressman, hi. I'm curious about, so new numbers from Border Patrol, which, yes, confirms that we've had 2 million migrants crossing the southern border, at least documented. But now, for the first time ever, the majority of migrants coming across the southern border are not from Mexico and the Northern Triangle. They are from other countries. How much of a concern is that with regards to crime, with regards to drug trafficking, that these are not countries, these are not Guatemalan refugees? And also, how much of that is attributable to Biden revoking those safe third country agreements with those migrant countries that really staunched that Northern Triangle flow? Or is this all of a COVID phenomenon, as the White House likes to say?
Yeah, you know, we beat up Biden, and we beat up Secretary Mayorkas, but there's another actor in this, and that's Secretary of State Blinken. This is his role. Instead of going to Europe and going to all these places, he needs to be going to Central and South America and working with these countries to essentially take back their people and work these agreements. They've completely given up. No one talks about the State Department. The State Department has failed America probably more than anyone else, whether it's the 13 Americans getting killed in Afghanistan or whether it's these terrorists and these gangs that are coming over in droves. He needs to be flying to Venezuela and finding out a way with a carrot or a stick to go, you will take these bad actors back. And the same goes for any of these countries. I recently visited the Northern Triangle. They said they've never even spoken with the Secretary of State. This is a problem.
Unbelievable. Yeah, it's pretty remarkable what's going on. And President Trump actually negotiated with all of those countries. But, of course, on day one, Joe Biden overturned all of Trump's border policies. Congressman, we'll be watching all of this. Thanks very much for weighing in. Thanks for your leadership here. Tony Gonzales joining us this morning in Texas. Thank you, sir.